A wealthy man wanted to go hunting in a part of northern Canada where few people had ever hunted. He traveled to a trading post and tried to find a guide to take him, but no one would do it. It was too dangerous, they said. Finally, he found an Indian who needed money badly, and he agreed to take him. The Indian's name was Windigo. They made camp in the snow near a large frozen lake. For 3 days they hunted, but they had nothing to show for it. The third night, a windstorm came up. They lay in their tent listening to the wind howling and the trees whipping back and forth. To see the storm better, the hunter opened the tent flap. What he saw startled him. There wasn't a breath of air stirring, and the trees were standing perfectly still. Yet he could hear the wind howling. And the more he listened, it sounded as if it was calling Windigo's name. Windigo. It called Windigo. I must be losing my mind. The hunter thought. Windigo had gotten out of his sleeping bag. He was huddled in a corner of the tent, his head buried in his arms. "What's this about?" the hunter asked. "It's nothing," Windigo said, but the wind continued to call him, and Windigo became more tense and more restless. "Windigo," he called. "Windigo." Suddenly, he jumped to his feet, and he began to run from the tent. The hunter grabbed him and wrestling him to the ground. "You can't leave me out here," the hunter shouted. The wind called again, and Windigo broke loose and ran into the darkness. The hunter could hear him screaming as he went again, and again he cried, "Oh, my fairy feet, my burning feet are on fire." Then his voice faded away, and the wind died down. At daybreak, the hunter followed Windigo's tracks in the snow. They went through the woods down toward the lake, then out on the ice. But soon he noticed something strange. The steps Windigo had taken got longer and longer. They were so long no human being could have taken them. It was as if something had helped him to hurry away. The hunter followed the tracks out to the middle of the lake, but there they disappeared. At first he thought that Windigo had fallen through the ice, but he wasn't any hole. Then he thought that something had pulled him off the ice into the sky, but that had made no sense as he stood wondering what happened. The wind picked up again. Soon it was howling as it had the night before. Then he heard Windigo's voice. It was coming from up above. And again he heard it. Windigo screaming, "My fairy feet, my burning feet!" But there was nothing to be seen. The hunter wanted to leave that place as fast as he could. He went back to the camp and packed, then left some food for Windigo. He started out weeks later. He reached civilization. The following year, he went back to hunt in that area. Again, he went to the same trading post to look for the guide. The people there could not explain what had happened. Penned to Windigo that last night, but they had not seen him since then. "Maybe it was the Windigo," one of them said, and he laughed. It's supposed to come with the wind. It drags you along at great speeds until your feet are burned away, and more as if than that. Then it carries you into the sky, and it drops you. It's just a crazy story, but that's what some of the Indians say. A few days later, the hunter was at the trading post again. An Indian came in and sat by the fire. He had a blanket wrapped around him, and he wore his hat so that he couldn't see his face. The hunter thought there was something familiar about him. He walked over and he asked, "Are you Windigo?" The Indian didn't answer. "Do you know anything about him?" No answer. He began to wonder if something was wrong, if the man needed help. But he couldn't see his face. "Are you all right?" he asked. No answer. To get a look at him, he lifted the Indian's hat. Then he screamed. There was nothing under that hat but a pile of ashes.